What is up, YouTube? Check this out. Look at this beautiful Spain. And boom. The second greatest power in the world, Austria. PU'd. We done did it, boys. It was absolutely brutal. This war with Austria. He was such a god. We went from 80 professionalism, and I must have farmed 2 or 3 times. And by farmed, I mean built generals up for 5 professionalism in order to slacken over 80%. So which probably, if I had to guess, we went from 90 professionalism to 44. That's how much we spent on manpower. And we also merked up. It was a combination of merking and slackening standards. I've since consolidated a lot of units, but we have many more troops around, which is good. However, I've built my navy up like crazy, of course. Why? Because the next step is to pass the Spanish Armada, which is to have more heavies or equal to Great Britain, 98 heavies. We need a flagship, so that's the first thing I should do when I begin the stream, but also 20 moral of armies is obtained when you pass this mission, and this is basically the next thing I plan to do, guys, is go in against the British. Their diplomacy is pretty trivial, and yeah, a naval invasion of Great Britain here, resulting in a personal union with them as well. We just took out Austria in one foul swoop, but moreover, Austria has since then lost the emperorship naturally. It has gone to Saxony, and I went ahead and declared on the Dutch. We fully annexed the Dutch, and therefore we inherited Dutch Mexico, New Holland, and the Dutch West Indies. So I literally paused out upon piecing out. I paused the game and ended the game is what I meant to say upon piecing out. And I even took land from Saxony here, which I plan to, rather than core up, give to Austria. That's the plan, as it's German. He'll stabilize it really quickly. Austria is 100% solidified, and look at that ruler, guys. 5 and 5. Beautiful ruler. 16 years of age. Amazing. I mean, talk about a golden era that is upon us. We rolled an heir, 552, not bad. Obviously, fairly similar in age, not too far apart, so that could cause some issues, but 552 in case we get a freak death feels really, really good. But look at that, dude. Johann the First von Habsburg. He's a legend. But if we go ahead and look at our dynasty, we also share dynasty with Ethiopia. So Ethiopia, as it happens, has a regency council. That's why we share dynasty. But his claim is weak on the air. You saw it here, lads. Look at that. We saw this just before we ended the stream. I have already claimed his throne. Dude, when I allied Ethiopia, he was doing fairly well. And I said we're going to ally him for the long shot PU. And he has since expanded self-autonomously because we've declined the Mamelukes, you know? He's expanded into Mamelukian clay. And there he is, boys. We're going to take out pretty much the entire east coast here of Africa, or the Horn of Africa, in one foul swoop. The absolute dream. Obviously, this guy's going to be a joke compared to us. So, wow. Great Britain, Austria, and Ethiopia. And Ethiopia, even though it is the age of absolutism, we just went over the cap. We have the 5 admin efficiency here and the first 10 from tech. He is still, even though we have Diplo ideas, he still would take 3 big wars. So I'm really glad we can take him out in one foul swoop. That's amazing. And with that in mind, we basically need to dial this, and the Madagascans. But yeah, we're struggling with CB still, guys. We're still using Dave's Fault, no imperialism. So my plan is to probably border Khorasan and actually take this chartered company and then go in and annex this dude, or maybe France, respectively, because, of course, after inheriting the Dutch colonies, we enforce religion on them, boys, and that's why I'm so excited. Unfortunately, the Counter-Reformation has gone away, but our missionaries have plenty to do. They're going to be really busy here, and that's a good thing because although we have done a good job converting, there's been periods where they're basically sitting around. So enforcing on Britain, enforcing on Ethiopia, converting this stuff, having something to do is really nice. And the next move, lads, is to fully annex France. As you can see there, he's under 100% war score cost. If we fully annex him, we're going to inherit essentially all of South America. So keep in mind, guys, that I have basically paused the game and not continued when a lot has gone down. I'm going to call this up. I'm going to hand that off to Austria, so our overextension should not be that bad. And we're going to inherit 1, 2, 3 merchants next month. And also, my influence will skyrocket up here. You can see how much influence the Dutch West Indies has. We're going to get much more influence in the Caribbean next month. So, although we're in a bad financial situation, I just embraced manufactories and took out a bunch of loans. So we've got a massive amount of interest here, you can see. With however many loans we have, 7 loans. But yeah, the economy is going to be stimulated, and my plan is to kind of consolidate as we go, because prior to this war, we only had about half this many troops, and we were faring just fine. Mostly advantaged, both with Western unit types, but also in some cases actually out-taking our opponents. So, like Virginia, for instance, is going to be a big war upcoming. This is where we're going to cleave out some big lands. Probably going to try to get the merchant from Deccan, and then go on into other Indian areas, especially if Delhi won't back them up. That would be amazing. But this is the game, boys. It's absolutely beautiful. Things are only really beginning to get really hard now. Really, really hard. The Commonwealth is an absolute mighty savage, and it's going to be time here shortly. We just are basically going crazy AE now, guys, because the Empire's a joke to us. So obviously the Union was expensive. Annexing so much land was expensive. France, annexing all of France is going to be expensive. PUing Britain is going to be expensive, and I'm holding on to the Commonwealth right now just because of aggressive expansion. He is a Catholic, so we don't have a good CB against him, and it's basically the truce timer, but the imperialism CB, the point at which I'm going to abandon the Commonwealth. In the meantime, he's keeping the coalitions down. Being allied to, obviously, the third greatest power in the world is pretty significant. But speaking of which, we're also allied to Delhi and Muscovy. We have not had coalition issues since PUing Austria, so I think we're so powerful that everybody is frightened of us at this stage, which is pretty cool. I don't actually see where the Austrian troops are right now. He had an awful lot at the time. Let's check out how many he has. Well, he's still up there, dude. His manpower is low, but he's still got a tremendous amount of troops, and he's perfectly loyal, so you can imagine how intimidating we are to our enemies. But my next move, I think, guys, is to actually reconquer Savoy and begin integrating them. We're going to continuously attack into the Empire like it's no big deal. Their diplomacy is pretty weak overall. And once we actually take the Savoy's course, we can actually walk 360 degrees. We can walk around the entire Mediterranean. Man, Nostrum, lads. So that feels amazing. Otherwise, let's go ahead and look at the culture here. That's what we currently look like. Some of this is Portuguese, of course. A lot of it is, in fact. And some that are Castilian are not necessarily going to be flipped to Roman. So we have to keep that in mind. I will try, but it's mostly in the old world. But there it is. We've got a large amount of Diplo. We've got a 6. Hopefully we can be hiring rank 3 advisors like it's no big deal. And who knows, if we're far enough ahead in the game, we might even focus our Diplo points. But there it is. We're also getting nearer and nearer. We are 1 institute away from the Enlightenment itself. And we're looking pretty good. I'm currently converting a lot to our culture as we speak. All over this place. So that's a large amount, lads. Yeah, so my moves here is to finally complete this claim, guys. These missions that we've had to claims on Italy. That's going to allow me to state up Lombardy. The only one I need to pay admin points is going to be Mantua. And I'm going to apply the Dominicas here. We're going to absolutely dominate the Genoa node. You can see that Tuscany has 20%. That's repulsive. Look how rich Genoa is. So we want to block Tuscany out in one war. I guess we'll take all but Rome. Maybe I should claim Rome and just take it and deal with the penalty at this stage as well to completely influence the Genoan Sea. That would be amazing, or the Genoan trade region, because he might make his capital Rome. I don't know. That's 20% there. That's pretty much it, boys, and this is where the real challenge begins. We need to use our admin efficiency to gobble up the entire world. Only a few more wars in Africa. That's crazy. You can see how much of Arabia I've already done. And it's basically going to be Eastern Europe and Asia, and also the New World. But I plan to approach it from many different areas like this. We're going to begin smashing out nations like Brunei, especially if they're fully annexable. He's almost there. But yeah, eliminating tags in one fell swoop is the way to go. Now, I want to address really quickly, just somebody commented on my YouTube channel that going into West Africa, look at these generals, dude. Austria was so formidable, guys, to fight. It was crazy. Going into West Africa and other areas, too many territories, people suggest that I made the mistake there. And although I respect your guys' opinions, the main reason that I opted this game to just sort of spread like a plague was due to the adjacent bonus of culture converting. So in a traditional game, you kind of go to trading companies, you know, because they're so much more valuable. And by coring up trading companies exclusively, you pretty much are allowed to avoid the too many territories modifier of your corruption. So other people have speculated, why am I so weak? Why is my forces so weak? Why is my economy so weak? It's because we're constantly routing out our corruption, guys. Like, again, we're going to get a big economic stimulus right now, but we're paying ridiculous amount for our corruption. And unfortunately, when we overextend, our corruption is going up, even though we're routing it out. That's why my economy seems so weak, and I seem so weak compared to other games in general. And the main reason, like I said, is because I want to annex land as quickly as possible with Dave's Vault, and I want to use the adjacent bonus, as opposed to having colonies along the coast in various areas. So I was considering the the cultural conversion costs when expanding. That is the main reason. But there's actually another reason. And it's basically, I thought about this when considering the primary reason, which is culture. And it's basically that what actually happens is if you take the entire Ivory Coast and you ignore the nations inland, number one is that they ally your enemies. This is something we experienced all the time, is Mali allying the Ottomans. So they're really a nuisance. But number two is they slowly unify the region. As the power balance shifts to one particular nation, like Songhai or Timbuktu or whoever, Mali, they just unify the entire region. And you end up here with this very powerful bloc because they leech the institutes off of you as well. And you end up with this very powerful bloc. The only disadvantage they have is the unit types of West African unit types versus Western, but they're ahead in technology, and obviously they benefit from all of the very hard bonuses. So they end up being incredibly powerful, and they ally your enemies, etc., to block you out. Same thing in these areas. In many cases, they even colonize inland through events and so on, but they unify these areas, and they become problematic. It's normally something that I just put up with because I feel like the too many territories is too harsh, and we're just expanding. But it's something that I didn't want to. I mean, it's a plus side to taking this approach. So, yeah, the main reason we are weak is the too many territories. We just embraced it, which is something I haven't really done since patch 1.28, where they introduced the corruption working in that manner. I believe it was that patch. However, it's working out. We have been powerful enough to achieve my ends, and we're just dealing with it. When we declare wars over diplomatic actions, that's when our corruption is allowed to reduce effectively. And I think I am, due to our ruling dynasty just being so strong right now, I am simply going to tick up after we just embrace the manufacturers just to be ahead of time to allow our corruption to go down. So, not perfectly efficient, but especially up until the next 3 techs or so, 23 in imperialism, I'm just going to keep Diplo and admin techs ahead of time, I think, which will basically have my corruption reducing in this case, even though we're expanding. So I want to clarify that, but yeah, we're big, we're strong, we're going to get a kick to our economy. My primary focus right now is going to be paying off my loans, and you can see we're getting 1.7 almost manpower per month nowadays. So that's pretty good. We're also killing it in military. I'm actually focusing my military right now, but I'm going to switch it up shortly. And I plan to actually farm generals and farm my professionalism back up, but we'll see how it goes, guys. Glorious game. Big PUs incoming 1 and 2. The Commonwealth is a huge threat, but at least we have an enemy of his Muscovy. Yeah, and it's time to Deus Vault into Asia until we get imperialism. We're going to have more options. But this is where the real challenge begins. We got a long way to go, and we need to annex the entire world ahead of time. Looking forward to completing administrative ideas, getting those states, and the whopping 20% annexation cost reduction from policy with influence. That's going to be really important, because I'm going to wait until we get that, as well as these admin efficiencies, before we integrate these big high dev PUs that we are going to obtain. But wish me the best of luck, guys, and make sure to stop by, tune in, and see how I'm doing after this video. If you guys are available, come watch me live, guys, for the glorious, the combat, the expansion, the questing to obtain the entire world. Feels good, man. I'll see you guys live or in another video. Thanks for watching.